Welcome back to the Within podcast. This is your host, Nicky Wallace, and I have a special guest here today, Jim Roy, with PWS Employment Solutions. So we're so excited to have Jim on. He's been a long-term friend of mine. We refer business back and forth. He took over part of my operations when I sold the staffing agency several years ago. So we've done a lot of fun stuff together. But Jim, do you just want to introduce yourself and kind of your journey, and we can go from there?
Yeah. Thanks, Nikki. Yeah, thanks for having me on. I love doing stuff like this.
Absolutely.
Especially with you, who quickly became an integral part of my life here in the last couple of years. So it's fun to see you working your vision with this too, about allowing folks to tell their story, and I think it's fun. So
yeah, thank you. I know we became when we hadn't even really met each other, maybe a couple of times, and then we started kind of the business stuff, and
quickly,
we quickly became fast friends at Vista Pub over beers.
Yeah. So I'm the managing partner of a company called PWS Employment, and we really do three things. We do workforce consulting, which is going into client partners and working with them on hiring strategy, on where they find their talent, how they onboard their talent, and how they hopefully retain the talent that they work so hard to find. I put a lot of effort into that over 30 years in the recruiting industry, and have written a little book called The First 15, which really talks about the importance of the first 15 minutes of a new employee's life cycle within an organization, on simple things like greeting people at the door and having a training agenda for them, and making sure their workspace is clean when they sit down for the first time. And so it's just little tips and tricks I picked up over the years on how to make sure employees have a great experience when they start with a new job. And
I love that.
Yeah.
It's very underrated.
It is totally underrated. And
I think you and I connected on that early. It's just like, wow, that first second that they walk in the door, what does that look like, feel like, all the things.
Because what's the first question you get asked when you get home at the end of your first day?
Yeah.
How was your day?
How was your day? Yeah.
And you want your new employee to say to whoever's at the table with them, this place is different than any place I've worked before.
Right.
They really nailed it. They really made me feel special, and my week is planned out, and my day was great. And you want them to have a different experience than anything they've had before. And
100%.
So it's not hard. It's just commitment to the details of onboarding.
To taking that time, yeah.
So we do that. Then we do a lot of direct hire, the old-fashioned headhunting work, where we search for talent and we place the talent with our client partners. And then also about 2 years ago, we opened a staffing firm, a contract to hire or temporary staffing firm in Des Moines. And I have a partner, Gabe Julik, who runs our staffing firm. He's the CEO of our staffing business, and he's in the office every day running our staffing. So we like to think that we can support hiring and workforce development on any level, whatever our client partners may need.
Awesome. Yeah. So you're really passionate about, like, the consulting side of it. I know. What's kind of some of your favorite gigs that you've been able to support clients on, or if you have like a favorite project you've done? I know you've done it for a while, so. Yeah.
I don't have a project per se, but a focus of the work that I love is the organization and the structure of the hiring process. That a lot of clients, a lot of companies that I've met, and Nikki, you do a lot of work on the HR consulting space on helping companies organize their thoughts and process. And what I like to do is really look at how employers post an ad, what the intake process is as far as how quickly do they look at a resume, and what sort of feedback do they give to the candidate, and working on the timing.
Yes.
Because as you know, as well as I do, timing is literally everything when it comes to a candidate applying and you reviewing the resume and you providing them direct feedback. So
what do you think that, like, special, like, what do you think kind of like that magic number is? I feel like it's changed over the years. You've been in staffing longer than I have, I know, but I feel like it evolves as the economy changes. But what do you feel like right now that kind of magic time frame is?
Well, I'll give you my wish list. My dream
Yeah.
is same day.
Yeah.
That if a candidate applies, somebody in the organization is looking at the candidate flow and at least making contact that same day of if somebody really looks good on paper that they could be a fit. It doesn't mean you have to interview them that day, but boy, people sure feel better when somebody reaches out to them and says, "Hey, Nicky, you have a really good looking resume, and I think your experience is applicable to what we do.
Right.
I'll be in touch and get a time where we can speak in the future."
Right. I was doing a direct hire recently, and I noticed more candidates because I agree. I try to respond to everybody, like even if I'm like you're not a fit, but like let you know, right? And it was amazing to me how many candidates got back to me and said, "Oh gosh, like thank you for at least saying something." And the amount of people that were like just sheerly surprised that somebody responded to their email or their question or whatever, I was like, wow, that, because I don't do direct hires as often as you do at all anymore, but it's for clients. But it was, that really surprised me. Like that really has changed, like with so much of the automation and everything going on. The human touch of some of that is really getting lost. So.
I think that's the key, not to jump right into automation or AI, but it does go hand in hand with speed and timing of the recruiting process that if, and I know companies can't sit by their computer and as soon as a candidate applies, they quickly react. I know it's not feasible, but at least within the first 12 hours, 16 hours of when somebody applies I don't think you should wait 2 days. But somewhere between 12 to 18 hours even would be optimal.
Right. Yeah. Do you see a lot of companies, this is like a big shtick, I think I always have it. Do you see a lot of companies that are still not in some type of like a HRS or like a system to help?
It's small business, yes. Bigger business, bigger organizations seem to have an HRIS.
Yeah.
Do I find many that say they love their HRIS? Not really. Yeah. And when I ask, I did a presentation, a group presentation last year about, it was based on AI. And I asked the people in the room, how many of them within their organizations have tied some form of AI to their HRIS system? I think I had 40 people in the room and 2 hands went up.
Why do you think that is?
Good question.
Scary.
I think we could rattle off probably 10 reasons why. Scary is one of them. What's the right tool for my business is the second one. How embedded do I want to make that tool versus human touch? What's the understanding of how to use the tool to make sure we're efficient and we can get the best out of the way we've installed this technology.
Right.
So, and it's still so new, I know I agree. AI's been around a while, but when it comes to workforce, HRIS and machine learning, we still have a long way to go you hit the nail on the head with the human touch piece.
Right.
How I still am a firm believer that candidates want to talk to somebody about the career opportunity that's in front of them.
Right. Right. Yeah, I do think that's changed a lot over the last just even couple of years. And it's kind of scary to see how many people are overlooked or how many people are. We do a lot of work at the People Co. with like the HR technology. I've never called myself a HR like tech person at all. In fact, I hate technology 90% of the time. But because I'm so passionate about the employee experience and like what that looks like, it's like there's so many things you can do if you are using some sort of automation or like just even go in and change the template so that it doesn't just read like your boilerplate. Just put your flair, your company's, kind of weave in your company culture kind of in some of that communication, just so it is different. But anyway, this is part of the recruitment world that it makes me sad because there's so many people that are just going into I think it's a necessary evil in some ways because you do get inundated with applications and just applicants and questions and all the things. So I do think there's a little of that goes into a recruiter's world as well. But it's also just got to talk to them. Got to say something.
I feel the same way. Nicky, I mean, you'll never catch me saying, let's not have a conversation with a candidate on the phone or in person about an opportunity. I mean, I still don't know how you would ever hire anybody without, at some point in the process, sitting them down and asking them pertinent questions about their history. Yeah. I don't see before I retire that is going to go away, at least from the way that I want to run business.
Right.
But I also know that, I've lived through a lot of evolution when it comes to recruiting. When I first started in my very first role as a recruiter, there was no email, there was no fax machine. I mean, I was in the stone ages of there was no
Do you
Indeed
have your chisel?
Yep. So my girls are fascinated at the fact that I actually did business and I didn't have email at one point in my life. So
that is wild to think about. Just how would you find all the candidates and how do you find phone books?
Yeah. Yep. It was a different time for sure.
Yeah.
And that's why this AI piece and automation, and it doesn't scare me because I've seen each stage of this evolve. Mm-hmm. And while we don't know, but honestly, Nicky, the internet was a thing that we had to learn.
Yeah.
I had AOL dial-up in my first apartment with my wife. And, we didn't know what that meant and we didn't know how to navigate the internet. So I was scared then. I'm not scared now because it's not going to stop as we grow as businesses and we grow as humans.
Yeah.
The technology and the evolution of business is going to continue.
Yeah.
Where it lands, I don't know. You and I mean, we can guess and speculate, but you have to embrace at least your learning of it and, see where it takes you because it's not going away.
So how do you, as at PWS, how do you guys embrace because with your direct placements, you do stuff all over the country, don't you?
Yep.
Or you're not necessarily
California
just
to Pennsylvania. Yeah.
That's wild. So how do you, from a remote sense, obviously you can't sit and talk to every candidate face to face. And I know COVID changed the world with a lot of those processes, but how do you guys kind of set up your process so you make sure you're doing your due diligence to the company and to the candidate when you're doing the direct placement?
Yeah, I mean, if it's a California job, I filled a position last year in Louisiana, the central part of Louisiana, and it was video, it was phone calls, it was email, and you use whatever tools you can, whether it's Zoom, Google, whatever, Google Meets. You schedule time just like you and I are. You and I are in separate cities right now. And we could essentially be in the same room. So I just think it's important that you have the time and the ability, no matter where you are, to see a candidate, look them in the eye, gauge their interest of, are they really interested in this job, or is it just is it just another interview for them?
Right.
And then, it's still good old-fashioned phone calls. It's good old-fashioned reference checks to try and learn more about the candidate and what people say and think about them. Yeah. So not really anything revolutionary, but COVID really taught us that we can do business without being in the same room together.
Right. I would agree.
So I've just embraced it, and people are used to it. And even when I make first contact with candidates now, they'll say, is this Zoom, is this in person, or is this over the phone?
Yeah.
So I think candidates have even evolved to understand there's three different ways that we can really get the ball rolling.
So do you think employers, because I know you support a lot of manufacturing and sometimes they're not always as open to some of this change. Do you think that most employers though are evolving with the recruitment process and they're, getting the tools to be able to do virtual, or are they still, or are there some that are still embracing? Like, how does that, what do you see from like an employer standpoint, what they're doing to be a preferred employer, or maybe they're not doing and should be doing to kind of be a preferred employer?
That is a great question.
$1 million question.
Well, it is essentially $1 million question. Here's what I'll say. We work with small businesses and we work with publicly traded, Fortune 500 firms. And I would say it's all over the map as far as the way people do things. It seriously depends. I mean, I'm working with a small company in Kansas City, and there's about 7 steps to their hiring process.
Oh boy.
But I'm okay with it because they made questionable hiring decisions before I met them, and it yielded negative results.
Yeah.
They hired people that became troublesome for their business.
Yep.
And so as I introduced new ideas to them and process improvements, they went to the far other extreme with how detailed but you know what? We've hired some really good people.
That's awesome.
And so I love it for them, and I support them in the team meeting candidates and each individual person having experiences, and they still do a ride along where the person like hops in a vehicle and goes out to see what the nature of the business is to make sure that the person truly understands the job that they're interviewing for. I love it too. But then you have other organizations that are strictly the facts, and they have folks that will conduct interviews that aren't skilled at interviewing.
Yeah.
I'm sure you run into this at times as well.
Oh boy. Yeah.
You don't know the right questions at the right time to ask, and you don't pull the information necessary to truly understand a candidate.
Right.
So
and vice versa for the candidate to understand what they're getting into.
Yep, it's true. Mm-hmm. So I don't mean to evade a direct answer, but I don't have one because I think it's all over the map with the way hiring is evolving mixed with technology. I don't think there's a one size fits all at all, and especially based on size of organization. But
to embrace what your company is doing and what it, but get the process. Like that's one thing I think I see all the time. It's just like have, to your point of like the interviews and understanding what you should just like, especially if you're hiring a lot, just figure out what that process looks like and how it kind of rolls and who needs to be involved.
And replicate it.
Yes.
Like whatever it is, have it written down to say step 1 is this, step 2 is this. And if it's working, keep doing it. If some part of it is stalling, change it. But once you dial it in, everybody in the organization should know exactly how the hiring process and the onboarding process works. Yeah.
When I was doing staffing, that would be one thing that I would cringe because, a lot of I supported manufacturing as well, obviously. And, when the candidate's at the front door ready for their interview and, Joe's supposed to, interview this candidate, but Joe's at lunch and Mike's gone. And it's like, oh man, like that's the first, experience that this candidate gets that like they're not even, they were kind of an afterthought in some ways. And I think sometimes companies can do that behind the scenes, but a lot of companies, it would happen just right in the foyer in front of the candidate. And so just taking that time to communicate as a team, whether you're hiring one person or hiring 100, I think just, have a hiring team if that's the case. And candidate feels that.
Yes. And it sets the tone.
Yes.
And, I've had a lot of consulting situations where employers are struggling or complaining about the lack of candidate flow or the lack of quality candidate in the market. And then when they do find somebody, to not treat it like gold,
Right.
because truly talent is gold.
Yeah, I would agree.
It's something you have to make sure you take really good care of, because the market's certainly in a unique spot right now.
Yeah, talk about it. What are you seeing? I'm not in the staffing as much, so what are you seeing?
So when I was a kid and I was doing this, I used to be able to set my watch by what the year would look like. Winter would be a little bit slow in the hiring season, and then
Yep.
spring would heat up, and then summer would have a little lull, and then you get to Labor Day, and it just was crazy through
Like
Christmas.
fire. Yeah.
It
Yeah.
was Q4 was always the best quarter, and
Yep.
and Gabe, my partner, always says Q1 business is great business, because sometimes coming out of Christmas and New Year's, things can be a little slow.
Yep.
But now, my crystal ball is cloudy. The
That's
rhythm,
crazy.
the busy seasons, the cycles. I quite honestly have not had a more cloudy vision of the future of hiring in my 30 plus years of doing this than I do right now.
Wow.
It's just so much evolution in the way companies embrace technology, the way,
That's what I was wondering.
the good or bad or whatever impact of tariffs that they've had, especially in the state of Iowa.
Yep.
It's really an uncertain time, and I don't have a calendar, a watch, or anything that I can use to predict. I struggle with this as a business strategy, but we're living day to day
Yeah.
because we have to adapt to market conditions every day.
Yeah.
And we have a budget for the year, and we have a forecast for what our business is going to do. And, so far it's been pretty intact through 2 months. But
Because you understand those balance sheets now from your wish I would have known.
I've certainly gotten better at it over the years, but
That's not easy though to forecast and try
it's
to
terrible, especially in recruiting.
in a
It's
service. In a service-based business too.
Yep. As soon as it's complete, it's going to go wrong. But I just don't have that crystal ball anymore, Nikki.
I never really thought until you were talking about that. I never really thought about because I was like, what, how has that or why has that changed? And technology really probably has impacted that. Just what companies maybe they're automating some things, so then their hiring is pushed back a month or two. I mean, I still think AI is never going to fully take over the workforce, right? Like there's still going to be somebody that has to double check or whatever. But yeah, I never really thought of that. That's interesting.
It's just the next turn of events on this.
So what are you excited about with what's going on in the company or in your industry at this point?
Yeah, so we're really excited about the foundation that we built in terms of our experience and how to navigate the future. I've studied the world of sales in recruitment and staffing. Gabe is really good at understanding the operational needs of how to run an efficient business with the structural side of things. So while we live day to day when it comes to what the market is going to be, I just love that we're so experienced, and we have ridden the highs, we've ridden the lows.
Yep.
That we aren't going to overreact or underreact to situations as they come our way.
Yep.
We take them in stride. We understand strategies. The AI thing again is like new to me, and it's a continual learning. Yeah. But we are just we find good talent. We take really good care of our customers.
Yeah.
And I still think fundamentally that's the root of a workforce business is customers and candidates at the end of the day. That's all we have. We don't have products or warehouses. We have candidates and customers.
Yeah.
And our ability to experience each pocket and side of what that means, I'm excited every day of like, okay, what's next as our business grows and evolves.
Right.
It's still fun to me every day, and we remain very optimistic about the future of our business.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think one thing I've always loved about you and Gabe is, yeah, you really do. I think that comes through in every, like, even when you and I were kind of going through some of our business stuff, it's like, man, you just really do care about the people. And I think that's important. One thing I think I've realized a lot in my recruiting career is like the companies, some companies will take the cheapest or they'll take the bigger because they have more resources or they'll, and it's like, man, like get the one that actually cares and that actually is going to like put their heart, into the work that they do. Because there is a lot of parts and components of the recruiting cycle that can be corporate and mundane and all the things, but like choose that partner that's going to come into your office and shadow the job, and they're going to understand what's going on. They're going to care about who they're picking for your team. All of that just matters so much. So I've always appreciated that. I feel like anybody that I send your way, client or candidate, they're going to get that touch from you.
Good.
So
yeah. So one final thought on that concept that you talk about, that partnership is one. You and I talked earlier about the wish I had known concept, and I think that's cool what you guys do with that. But one final piece from me is and I've kind of always embraced this, but I just think it's really important as we all go through this together, is that power of networking and that power of putting yourself out there, and that, like, I will take a lot of meetings that sometimes don't yield fruit, or just or another LinkedIn connection for future reference.
Yep.
But I cannot tell you how many times somebody I met 5 years ago reappears in my life.
Yes.
And suddenly it's like, oh, we have a shared interest and we can start doing something different.
Yeah.
And so I just think it's so vital that if you're running a business and you're trying to grow a business, the power of building relationships with like people.
Yes.
And meeting people that may not seem impactful today will be potentially 2 years, 5 years, 20 years from now. So it's just a really good lesson that I learned early on is you only know as much as you know, but when you surround yourself with cool people that have bigger ideas than you do, man, it sure pays off.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. When I was at Aerotech, we used to have to meet 20, like your goal was between 15 and 20 like new meetings a week. And so I laugh now when people are like, oh, everybody. It's like, I had to. Like at some point I was kind of forced to, but I would agree with you. Like, I'm so grateful now for my network as my world's evolved and my company's evolved and all the things. And it is crazy, like the people that you'll run into then, several years later. I saw one of my old clients and I had put a story out on LinkedIn that Matt and I's story, the whole story that we got married, divorced, and I shared that post on LinkedIn. She's like, how did I not know that? We were, your client at the time. And it was just funny because I was like, God, that was like, 10 years ago at this point. But to add on to that, though, I think that the younger generations are not always spending as much time building that network. And if I could give, the younger generations any tip, like spend time, whether it's virtually, to your point, doing LinkedIn, making sure that you're spending time going to some of that. Like the amount of times my network now has come back around and supported me or whatever the case has been just amazing. And I think if you're not taking time to intentionally build that, you're kind of doing yourself a disservice. But I don't know if you have any thoughts on that totally, from a candidate's side.
I absolutely 100% agree. And I sometimes am at fault that I do too much of it with things that maybe
because there's
I
a fine
shouldn't
line.
Spend my time on. Yeah. But given the fact of not doing it enough or doing it too much, I'm going to vote for taking that coffee meeting with somebody in the event there's a way that I can impact their life or they can impact mine.
100%. All right. Well, thank you so much, Jim, for coming on and sharing your story and PWS and all of the things. So we'll put notes in the show notes on where to find Jim. But do you want to kind of give us where your best way to get in touch with you?
Yep. PWSemployment.com is our website. LinkedIn, same name. Hit me up on LinkedIn at any point. I love sharing connections and stories and hearing and especially candidate referrals, anything. You know, I tease oftentimes that when people find out that I'm in recruiting, they will bring me their brother, sister, cousin, uncle, whomever
Always.
that is going through a job transition.
Yeah.
And, you know, we can't help everybody, but I like to think we can at least impart one or two ideas or thoughts for somebody on like, hey, I can't help you, but here's a resource or an outlet for you to do it. And we're always happy to do that because that's the business we're in and we still love it.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I love what you and Gabe are doing and appreciate you coming on and sharing some good nuggets. So thanks for following the Within podcast, and we'll see you guys next week.